After, the entire dragon horde ambushes the city and comes to ravage it. One of the dragons is shot through by the sword saintess with the dragon-slaying crossbow that she had ordered them to design. The tool seems to be effective in killing the dragon, and their chances of saving Brighttown are increased. Captain Loader and Afreya, who are standing nearby, are intrigued by the effectiveness of the weapon. They watch in shock, with their mouths wide open. The sword saintess asks them if they know how to use the crossbows, and tells them to quickly get stationed at a crossbow and get ready to attack. The captain quickly affirms her orders and prepares to dispatch. Across the top of the wall, several men work tirelessly to load each crossbow in preparation for their next attack. After loading up, the sword saintess gives another loud order to fire, and all the men simultaneously fire their loads. The arrows pierce several of the dragons, and they fall to the ground like a pack of cards after sustaining terrible injuries. Some of the dragons dodge the attacks, hell-bent on knowing how people from Brighttown taste. Some of the men stationed at the crossbow are excited about how effective the weapon is. They call it amazing, and it looks like they're going to win this fight. While they talk, their attention is drawn quickly to a sudden change in the outlook of the sky. When they look closely, they realize that some big, strange figure is coming out of the sky. Suddenly, the men grab their heads due to the sudden tinge of pain that hits them. The new assailant seems to have some magical powers that disorient each soldier. The captain suddenly recognizes their new assailant, and signals to the sword saintess that they're up against the purple golden dragon mother. The dragon mother flies towards the wall, with several streaks of purple lightning following her. She makes a roar to assert her dominance, and the men look like ants in her presence, due to her sheer size. The men cower in fear and almost abandon their bows due to the ugly sight of the purple golden dragon mother. One of the men tells the others to quickly prepare to shoot, but his friend replies that she's way bigger than the other dragons, and the dragon-slaying crossbows can't possibly hurt her. While they deliberate on what to do, the dragon mother locks her gaze on the men standing right in front of her with their dragon-slaying crossbows. She suddenly creates a pool of fire in her mouth and shoots it toward the top of the wall. The impact of the hit makes the men run for cover, as it seems the wall is going to collapse. Nearby, they all hear the sword saintess announce that there's no need to panic. She tells them to leave the dragon mother to her. She tells everyone else to continue to defend the city and sticks her magic sword into the ground using an advanced sword technique. A blue circle emerges with blue radiant power being released, which demonstrates the power of the sword. Suddenly, a blue magic shield appears around the city, which stops the flames coming from the dragon mother from destroying the city. The dragon mother soon stops shooting fire at the town once she realizes that her attack is being warded off by the shield. On a nearby mountain, Lin Tian and the rest of the goblin army watch the fight from afar. Our guy thinks to himself that he didn't expect the shield to hold off the dragon mother's attacks. He runs an appraisal of their strengths and decides that it's also expected, because although the dragon mother has abnormal strength, the sword saintess is something else. The dragon mother has a level of 79, health of 4100, strength of 510, defense of 580, and an overall power of 2900. The sword saintess, on the other hand, is the real monster here. She's at level 80, has a health of 1700, strength of 690, defense of 700, and an overall power of 4000. As he watches the sword saintess leap toward the dragon mother to deliver several attacks, Lin Tian surmises that the sword saintess's strength is just too abnormal. Our guy thanks his stars that he's not in this fight because that would be a big problem. It's funny that just a while ago our guy was quibbling over an attack power of 200 and above when attacking the elves. He'll most likely be eviscerated if he steps into this battle. He realizes that the dragon mother is slightly weaker than the saintess, but it has the advantage of having higher health points. Our guy decides that the sword saintess can't possibly defeat the dragon mother in a short time. After watching the ongoing battle closely, along with his goblin army, Lin Tian decides that this is the perfect opportunity to take revenge against humanity as planned. He orders his goblin army to proceed into the city as they had planned. He orders that one team create a disturbance, and another team lie in ambush. The goblin army, with red, bulb-like eyes and a keen desire for destruction, march towards Brighttown to exact mayhem on the town. Meanwhile, the protective shield that the sword saintess had cast only seemed to have lasted long enough to deflect the dragon mother's attack. Several homes in the city are currently set on fire by the other dragons, while the sword saintess battles the dragon mother. Captain Loader exclaims that it's really difficult to deal with the flying dragons. He's glad to have the help of his master and decides that they can handle the rest since the dragons are just brute beasts. As he stabs one of the dragons, he boasts about how he's also now a dragon slayer, which is a skill set that the sword saintess has. While he's revealing his kill, one of the townspeople runs towards him and screams that goblins are invading the town, which startles the captain. Still, in battle with the dragons, the Blade Hero team is surprised to hear that goblins are invading the town at such a time. They believe it must be a joke since goblins are stupid, but not stupid enough to appear in such a fight since they're low-level creatures. The captain is startled by the voice of a nearby woman, who cries for help as she is chased by 2 goblins who are thirsty to have her. He curses upon realizing that they're facing a goblin invasion, right in the middle of a war with the dragons. He announces to his team that there aren't too many evil dragons left, so he tells Freya and another member of his team to hold them off, while he and the female swordsman, Yevlia, go deal with the goblins. Yevlia affirms his order, with a look of disdain in her eyes for goblins. They both chase one of the goblins, who makes a run for it upon seeing them advancing. Unbeknownst to them, several goblins are hiding in the sewers, and at several spots in the city, waiting for them to separate themselves from the rest of the team. The goblins underground give menacing cackles, with jagged teeth that look like old men's teeth, but are strong enough to break bones. In a split second, the goblins throw a net over Freya and shoot arrows at Loder, incapacitating him. As she's being dragged away, Freya cries out to the captain, who has been shot in the leg, to help her. The goblins, who have iron armor and carry iron tools, surround each of the warriors to attack them individually. The captain starts to curse, wondering why there are so many goblins. I would think he would ask why they're even carrying iron weapons, but oh well. Yevlia, who has been stopped by a team of armed goblins, tries to fight them off and tells the captain she is coming to help. Meanwhile, the last member of the team of 4 tries to block the attack of the goblins who have also surrounded him. The situation looks terrible, as the men seem to be heavily outnumbered. While they're fighting, Lin Tian shows up on the scene, while the men are busy fighting the lower goblins. Suddenly the captain calls out to them to watch out because there's a new assailant behind them. They turn back just in time to receive deep slashes from MC's knife. Lin Tian just walks past them as he slashes them and spills their blood. Captain and Freya, who are now on the ground, watch the whole thing in horror since they had just lost 2 close teammates at once. Our guy simply walks towards them and tells them he didn't expect that they'd be caught so easily. The captain, who is now irate, screams out that he's going to kill them and calls them lowly goblins. Lin Tian just kicks him in the chin and knocks him out, telling him to read the situation carefully before making big statements. He orders the goblins to take Freya and Loder into the sewers, and orders the rest of them to follow him to the city wall to take out the remaining crossbowmen. The sword saintess, who is still dealing with the mother dragon, realizes that goblins are launching a surprise attack against the town. She wonders how goblins racked up the nerve to attack at such a time. The mother dragon, who transforms into a half-dragon, half-woman, mocks their present situation and tells the sword saintess that it looks like they have their hands pretty full. Noticing that she's distracted, the dragon mother calls her a witch and attempts to land a killing blow on her. The dragon mother makes fun of her inability to keep up and jokes that she'd like to see how much longer they can spend spilling dragon blood. Just as the dragon mother is about to hit her, the sword saintess uses her advanced sword skills and deflects the dragon mother's attack, creating a shield of sword strikes. The strikes land perfectly on the dragon mother, who screams out in pain and frustration. The sword saintess realizes that the dragon mother is about to run out of health points, and wonders if Loder and his team have been able to deal with the dragons and goblins who are attacking them. Suddenly, an explosion occurs on the town calls, throwing off the men and casting them to their doom. The sword saintess is alarmed by the explosion and wonders if the goblin problem hasn't been resolved yet. The dragon mother, who is standing nearby, prepares to launch her next attack. While the sword saintess is distracted, looking at the commotion occurring in the town, the dragon mother quickly transforms back into her dragon form and prepares for flight. As she flies off, the dragon mother threatens to come back after she has recovered from her wounds. The sword saintess, who was caught off guard, curses, realizing that the dragon mother had managed to escape. This means the battle is not over, but has just been postponed to another day. Out of anger, the sword saintess swears to wipe out the entire dragon race on Dragon Island once she's recovered. Meanwhile, the mayhem continues down below in the city, and several homes are seen on fire. The sword saintess soon comes down, and goblin heads start rolling. She piles up a few goblin corpses and wonders where Loder is, and why they can't take care of a few goblins. One of the adventurers, who lies injured from the attack, tells the sword saintess that goblins have captured Loder and Freya. Angry, she wonders how that's possible since goblins are nothing but lower-level creatures. One of the injured men tells her that these goblins are different from the usual ones they've encountered. They explain that the strength of these goblins is comparable to that of a race far greater than they are, and that's why even Loder couldn't defeat them. Their statement annoys the sword saintess, who is worried that her best men were overtaken by mere goblins. She pledges to go and slaughter all the goblins in the enchanted forest immediately to end this foolishness. One of the injured women, whose clothes have been torn, probably by ravaging goblins, begs the saintess to stay with them because they'll be unable to defend themselves if the dragons or goblins return to attack them. The rest of the citizens join the woman in her plea, but the saintess just ignores them, thinking about what the fate of Loder and Ephraia is. They all beg her that they are citizens of the temple and empire, and they ask that she stay with them to protect them. When they say that, the sword saintess thinks to herself that they're right about the fact that she has to protect the citizens of the temple and not the captured people. She thinks that Loder should blame himself for being too weak and being unable to deal with mere goblins, so she decides to ask the royal family for help first before she makes a move. Meanwhile, in the tribe, the elf women and the goblins go about their normal activities, and some are seen breastfeeding baby goblins. Another goblin nearby is seen trying to drag a female elf into a tent. Suddenly, one of the goblins announces that their leader is back, so they rush to go meet him. The goblins are glad to see that they've returned, and to learn that they were able to capture 2 humans. Some of the goblins wonder where they caught them from. It should be a no-brainer since they have announced that they're going to war against the human kingdom. They pulled them out of the sky, Karen. Loder and Ephraia, who are tied up and dragged by the goblin army, are surprised to see the goblin community and the elves they've taken captive. The goblins roughly throw Ephraia and Loder to the ground. Spikehead throws them against a rock while being tied up and tells them to be quiet. Loder, who disdains being treated like this by lowly goblins, growls at the goblins, probably thinking of 1,000 ways to kill it. Loder watches as Spikehead approaches one of the elf women to patronize her, but she moves away from him. One of the nearby goblins just smiles at Spikehead's pickup skills, probably hoping to get in on the action. Loder, who is watching the whole thing, is surprised to see that they have taken so many elves captive. Ephraia tells him that it seems to her that there might be a hero-tier goblin in this tribe, which would explain their unusual feats. Loder asks Ephraia if she's recovered a bit to know if she'll be able to use her magic. But she tells him that the toxin they used is quite potent, and it would take some time for her sacred constitution to eliminate its effects. MC, who is standing nearby, tells Ephraia that he didn't expect the poison to lose its effect so soon, and he commends Ephraia for her strong recovery speed. His statement startles Ephraia, who didn't know he was listening to them. Meanwhile, Spikehead comes to subdue Loder, who angrily protests against our guy. When Lin Tian lays a hand on Ephraya's thighs, she demands to know how he knows her name and asks him what he's attempting to do, possibly trying to give her a massage. MC, who just gives a sly grin, asks her if she doesn't know what he wants to do. He digs his claws into her legs, and Ephraia screams out loud in pain. The captain, who is nearby, attempts to defend Ephraia, but the goblins nearby subdue him. Eventually, he shouts at Lin Tian and tells him to stop doing that. One of the goblin captains lands a clean blow on Loder's chin, telling him not to dare raise his voice at the boss. Loder, who realizes he's been bested, asks Lin Tian if he realizes the consequence of capturing them. He tells him that the strength of the sword saintess can wipe out his entire tribe in one strike. MC, who looks unperturbed, tells her that the sword saintess is also his prey, but her time hasn't come yet. He informs the captain that, besides, he has sent someone to cover up their tracks, so the Saint Swordess won't even be able to find their location even if she wants to. Lin Tian immediately instructs one of the captains of the Goblin, Berserker, who had landed a punch on Loder's chin, to take all the second-generation goblins into the forest to kill more monsters and bring them back. Berserker quickly affirms his orders and tells him to leave it to him. Our guy realizes that with such a big attack, the humans won't let the existence of the goblins slide, so he has to complete the evolution process before they find them. Lin Tian steps on the captain's chest to interrogate him. He tells him to cooperate by answering his questions, or he can't promise that he'll get to keep all his body parts. Our guy asks the captain if they're fond of secretly capturing goblins and inflicting torture on them, referencing what they did to him in his past life. The captain, who now begins to curse, asks him what nonsense he's talking about. Lin Tian starkly tells him that he took too long to answer, so he takes a clean cut of the captain's left ear with one swing of his knife. The captain grabs his bleeding ear and cries out due to the pain, cursing at Lin Tian and calling him a damn goblin. With his ear now on the ground, the captain tells him that everything they've done they do to protect the human race. He tells him that it's their duty to defeat monsters, and the goblins are one of them. Lin Tian finds it hard to swallow that they're doing it for the human race, so he tells him that he thinks it's more about constantly elevating the status of their so-called hero party. Lin Tian recalls how they had killed the human woman he was trying to protect in his last life. So he affirms that it's much easier for the Blade Hero Party to kill the captured humans, along with the monsters, than to rescue them alive. He angrily asks the captain how much blood debt he has accrued to complete his missions in the name of being righteous. The captain and Ephraia are suddenly startled by his allegations, wondering how this goblin knows so much about them. MC, who now has an evil look on his face, tells them the conversation is over. He tells them, unlike them, who pretend to be righteous, he doesn't have to pretend, because he's an inherently evil monster. He tells them he's going to teach them a lesson, and he goes toward Freya to hurt her. The captain screams at him not to hurt Freya, but Freya, who is being manhandled, simply drools from all the hurting that Lin Tian is giving her. She struggles to speak and makes a blur of words, trying to tell the captain to help her. The captain screams at Lin Tian to stop, calling him a beast, but Freya, who is just sweating and tearing up as her eyeballs roll upwards, weakly tells him to stop. The captain, who is angry to witness the scene, continually shouts at Lin Tian to stop, so the captains of the goblins come to subdue him and tie him up. Lin Tian reminds Freya of the words she told him while torturing him in his past life, telling her that the lesson has just begun. Freya, who is unable to say a word, just sweats profusely as she continues to tear up. The MC, who is now done with her, tells her he wonders if Loader, who enjoys watching what the goblins will do to her. As our guy steps backward, he lets the other goblins have a go at Freya. The goblins, who all have evil expressions on their faces, gladly walk toward Freya to carry out their devious plan and satisfy their dark desires. The captain watches in amazement as the goblins grab Freya, who now lies on the ground helpless, and attempt to have their way with her. He screams out her name but gets no response. The next day, the goblin who is guarding the humans calls one of his brothers to come take up his shift. The other guy tells the new goblin that the boss had said not to kill Freya, so he warns him to keep her alive. The new goblin guard just gives a shrewd laugh. He tells the other goblin he won't kill her and tells him not to worry. Freya, who now looks battered and beaten up, just remains tied up and looks exhausted. Close by, the captain tries to tell her to hang on so the goblins don't get the upper hand. She assures the captain that she's fine and she'll hold up. One of the goblins who is close by steps on the captain's head and tells him to shut his pothole. Meanwhile, the clan mother, who sits nearby with the princess, while she's breastfeeding a baby goblin, tells the princess she thinks Lin Tian has a grudge against the humans, judging by how they're being treated. The princess agrees that the humans have it worse than they do since they still have fruits to eat. Goblin Yue, who comes in with some fruits, while the baby goblins try to play with her, mentions that she has heard Lin Tian mention his grudge against the humans before, and agrees that it must be true. The clan mother mentions that our guy always keeps his word and never forgets a grudge, which makes him the most unique goblin she's ever seen. I think she has a crush on him or something. The clan mother starts to fantasize about MC and starts to blush, so the princess jokingly comments that she sees that the clan mother has become fond of him. Soon, Spikehead announces that the second-generation goblins, who are the ones the elves gave birth to, have returned from their hunting. Our guy is surprised, so he asks why they're back so early from hunting monsters. The second generation of goblins arrives with large catches of animals on their shoulders and their carriages. One of the second-generation goblins happily tells the boss that they've returned. Looking at his rating, this goblin is in level 33 and has a warrior class, unlike the others, which means he has significantly increased offense and defense. He also has an HP of 470, a strength of 142, a defense of 68, and an overall power of 500. Our guy thinks to himself that, as expected, the second-generation goblins have already broken through level 30 and have evolved into high-tier species. He realizes that their stats are almost catching up to his. Lin Tian asks them why they came back so early today and asks how their hunt went. The lead second-generation goblin tells him that they've wiped out all the nearby monsters, so they had to go look in the west side of the forest. He also informs the boss that they ran into several high-tier goblins slaughtering other goblin tribes. This information startles the MC, so he asks which tribe it was. One of the other second-generation goblins named Tian tells him that they're known as the Bloodfang tribe, and they're mostly high-tier goblins. He further explains that while they were splitting up to find the monsters, they discovered that several goblin tribes had been attacked, and they all bore the mark of the Bloodfang tribe. The information piques our guy's interest as the thought of a tribe full of high-tier goblins fascinates him. With a sly smile on his face, he mentions that they could create stronger third-generation goblins if they capture their leaders, which will increase their chances of surviving the efforts of the humans to exterminate them. The captain, who is blindfolded and tied nearby with one ear, laughs at MC, calling him foolish for dreaming when the tribe is about to be annihilated. He tells them that no matter how powerful the goblins get, they're still going to be defeated by the knights, so he tells them to wait and see. MC, who is now irritated by his presence, mentions that he almost forgot about his existence since he's been so quiet. Lin Tian switches to that evil look he always has when he wants to do something terrible, and tells the other goblins, who didn't get to have fun the last time, to have their way with the captain. The captain just cries out in horror, realizing what's going to happen to him, as three thirsty-looking goblins surround him. He demands to know what they're planning to do, as everyone else does, but it's too late for him. One of the goblins, who is finally happy to get his turn, mentions that even male humans have such tender and soft skin, as he starts to ravage the captain. The captain, who is now sweating profusely, never having witnessed such a fearful thing in his life, possibly wishing for death more than this, starts to curse. He tells them they're all monsters, and the knights will exterminate their race. Soon after, the goblins overpower the captain and do their business. Ifreya, who is chained nearby, just keeps quiet and tries her best to ignore his screams. Several hours later, the captain is seen almost lifeless on the ground, and he looks like a truck had hit him. Well, it's the goblin truck. All the goblins soon gather to roast some of the meat from the hunt and dance, while Lin Tian sits down with the princess and Yue. Yue asks him if he plans to attack the Bloodfang tribe next, so he tells her that they have to do that to be the strongest. He tells her that they will not only be attacking them, but they will capture their leader. He tells them he's even come up with a new name for the tribe. He declares that from now on the tribe will be called the Tian Kuang tribe, which is derived from his name, Lin Tian. The second-generation goblins, who are seen enjoying bottles of rum, rejoice over the boss's declaration and call him mighty. The other goblins soon join in and rejoice over the fact that their tribe now has a name. They all shout the name in unison as they begin to celebrate. Yue, who is worried due to the strength of the Bloodfang tribe, asks him how they're going to capture the tribe's leader since they've wiped out so many tribes. Lin just tells her to calm down and tells her he has confidence. He looks at Ifreya and tells her that he has a trump card that he hasn't used yet. The next day, the boss heads into the forest and enjoys the view of the demonic forest from where he's standing. It turns out that he's scouting the residents of the Bloodfang tribe, so he decides to do an appraisal of their actual strength. He spots the Bloodfang goblins going about their usual business and notices that there are indeed quite a few high-tier goblins, but they should all be manageable. While he's watching, he notices that the goblins suddenly become scared, and he notices that their leader is approaching. His face lights up when he finally sees the leader of the Bloodfang tribe. The reason he's so happy is that the leader of the tribe is a hero-class goblin. As a hero class, he's in level 50, has a class of high-rank warrior, has an HP of 700, a strength of 239, a defense of 14, and an overall power of 900. Our guy realizes that the leader doesn't seem all that powerful with a total combat power of 900. He reasons that a dozen or so goblin warriors should be able to handle it. The only issue is that the leader won't go without a fight, so they won't be able to capture him without a fight. He also realizes that their poison might be of little use to the Bloodfang goblins since they're quite large. He decides that since the paralytic poison won't work on them, he'll have to think of another way. He recalls the imprisonment spell that Ifreya used to keep him in one spot while she was torturing him in his previous life, and reasons that it would be cool if he's able to use that same spell on the Bloodfang leader. With that sly grin on his face, he decides that it's time to go see Ifreya. Back in the Goblin tribe, things seem to be going well. Meanwhile, close to where the humans are being captured, Spikehead tells the boss that they have completed his orders according to how he stated them, but he jokingly mentions that he thinks Ifreya is dying. It appears that they've been feeding her with some sort of intoxicating substance, and Ifreya now lies, helpless on the ground. Lin Tian tells Spikehead he did well and dismisses him, but he wonders what state Ifreya is in. Ifreya, who now makes blurry words, asks them to kill her so she can atone for her sins in the presence of her lord. Lin Tian simply walks towards her and uses a hot towel to tend to her wounds. Ifreya, who likes the warmth of the towel, enjoys the feeling, but she soon freaks out when she realizes the one attending to her is Lin. She jerks her hands away from him and tells him to stay away from her. She calls him a demon and informs him that she's going crazy because she's in so much pain. Out of nowhere, Lin Tian gives Ifreya a startling slap, which dazzles her. He also reaches behind her and immediately draws her closer to hug her. It's a little tough-loving. He tells her punishment is over, while still hugging her, and Ifreya just remains in his arms, still startled. With tears in her eyes, she asks him if he's telling the truth. He tells her that he keeps his word, but his only condition is that she must choose to have faith, which makes her wonder what faith he's talking about. She watches him with tears in her eyes, and he tells her that she can either choose to believe in God or choose to trust him and become her pet, which spares her from the daily torment. He calmly says this while petting her head to calm her down. Ifreya, who seems to now be broken, doesn't say a word. Suddenly, she starts to lick his hands, and he takes that as a sign of submission. Our hero holds up Ifreya, who kneels to him and tells her that's a good response. He tells her that from now on, he's her only master, and he'll call her his little B-word. Ifreya simply makes a woof sound and calls him master. Suddenly, Lin Tian carries Ifreya in his arms. He tells her to come with him and carries her towards a warm bath. After he gets rid of her underwear and chains, he puts her in the soothing bath and starts to clean her up. Ifreya, who seems not to be right in the head anymore, tells him he treats her so well. She says she's willing to give him everything. He just continues to tend to her. Ifreya seems to be enjoying all the attention and the warmth of the bath. He replies to her by telling her that it's perfect and that she'd like to give him everything. He tells her he wants to see how to use the skill Holy Light Cage, which he recalls that she had used to trap him in his previous life. She repeats the word Holy Light Cage and asks him what it is, calling him Master. Our guy presents a book with spells that he had obtained from the elves and points her to the spell for the Holy Light Cage. Since she's a magician and can understand spells, she quickly picks up the writing and starts to cast the spell. A bright golden cage suddenly appears out of nowhere, with a crucifix as its seal. MC, who is standing nearby, is intrigued by the sight of the cage, so he commends Afreya for a job well done. Soon enough, Lin Tian and Afreya walk together, past the iron cage where the captain is kept. The captain is surprised to see Afreya moving around. He quickly asks her if she's fully recovered. He tells her to quickly kill our guy and use her magic to restore his body before Lin Tian can make a move. Lin Tian simply retorts to the captain and asks if he can't see that she is now willingly submitted to him. Afreya just silently stands there as Lin Tian talks, and the captain can't stop his jaw from hitting the floor upon hearing MC's words. The captain refuses to accept and wonders how the daughter of the leader of the Holy Order can be tamed by goblins. Afreya just kneels close to her master and starts to rub on him like a dog. Lin Tian asks her to tell him if she had willingly submitted or not, so Afreya responds that she did it voluntarily, calling him master. Those words bring a sense of hopelessness upon Loder, who realizes that he's lost Afreya. In his cage, he looks down but smugly says that MC's action will lead to the extinction of the goblin race from the world. He gives a maniacal laugh and further mentions that the only purpose of the goblins' existence is to be slaughtered by humans. As Afreya and Lin Tian leave, he screams out that the Holy Church will wipe them out. Lin Tian honestly thinks to himself that he didn't expect Afreya to be so completely submitted. He thanks the captain for revealing such vital information and looks for a way to reward him, so he asks the goblins not to let the captain rest for the next few days. Berserker, who is standing nearby with a smile on his face, prepares his whip and tells the boss to leave it to him. Poor captain. Lin Tian quickly focuses on Afreya and tells her that it's time for them to focus on the business at hand. He holds her by the hand and leads her away so they can deal with the Bloodfang tribe. Meanwhile, in the Bloodfang tribe, things seem to be going on as usual. As we take a closer look, one of the captains of the Bloodfang tribe, who looks like a priest, approaches the leader, along with many other Bloodfang goblins, to tell him that everything is ready. The leader, who is pleased to hear the news, tells them that they will attack the southern tribes today. To pump the people up, he announces that they'll capture the elves and have fun with them, and all the goblins go crazy, hailing the majesty of the boss. It seems women and meat are the only two things you can use to motivate a goblin crowd. While they're celebrating, one of the Bloodfang guards hurriedly approaches the boss to call his attention to something, which irritates him. The guard announces that a strange goblin has barged into the tribe and is demanding the boss, and this surprises the leader of the Bloodfang tribe. The Bloodfang leader wonders if it's a low-level goblin, so he decides to go see his visitor. Upon reaching there, it turns out to be MC, who had come to the Bloodfang tribe all on his own. He tells the leader that he knows he's a hero-class monster who has intelligence almost as great as that of the humans, so he has come to talk to him. The Bloodfang leader recognizes that his structure is human-like, and his manner of speech is not so much like a goblin, so he asks him if he's a mutant. Our guy tells him that he's not a mutant, but he's just slightly smarter than normal goblins. He makes the statement looking so expressionless that the high-tier and low-level goblins who surround him look evidently angry. They look like they're going to pounce on him any moment from now. To make matters worse, Lin Tian just cuts the bull and tells them he's the leader of the southern tribe, and he has come to take their leader's head as if it's an Amazon delivery he ordered. Still standing in their midst, he tells them that the rest of them have two options, which are to either submit to him or choose death right there. The entire tribe becomes tense, and they all seem to be waiting for the order of their boss to rip Lin Tian limb from limb. The leader is simply shocked to know he's the infamous leader of the southern tribe who keeps elves captive, whom he had planned to capture. Lin Tian continues his speech and tells the Bloodfang leader that he has good genes, so he asks him to come with him. The nerve on this guy. The Bloodfang leader just blurts out that he is a fool. In the twinkle of an eye, the Bloodfang leader reaches out and catches MC's head, since he's much larger in size, telling him to shut his pothole. The Bloodfang leader tells him that he didn't expect him to come by himself, which makes the job easier for him. The leader promises to kill him, as well as the other goblins, so he can have the elves and humans for himself. The other goblins from the Bloodfang tribe who are around hail the boss and ask him to crush MC's head. MC, who just remains in the leader's hands without moving a muscle, tells the leader that, as he had expected, there's no further reason to discuss. His statement annoys the leader, who tells him he's only lucky that he plans to keep him alive, so there's no need to go further and destroy him. While the leader is talking, Lin Tian uses his weapon and makes a straight slash, which causes the Bloodfang leader to let out a shriek due to pain. Soon enough, the Bloodfang leader's hand is seen lying on the ground, and the members of the tribe look at it with horror. The leader realizes that he's lost the upper hand, so to say, pun intended. He quickly orders his men to kill the MC. The Bloodfang priest rallies the other warriors to kill our guy to avenge their boss, but Lin Tian just stands in their midst, unperturbed. Our guy raises his hands and tells an invisible figure to come out. Suddenly a sword pierces the Bloodfang priest from behind. As he's about to die, he wonders out loud how his assailant could be so quiet. But the second-generation goblin from the southern tribe happens to have acquired the invisibility skill from one of his preys. Out of nowhere, Berserker comes forth and proudly announces that it's because they have another special skill called Silent Steps, which allows the user to move around without making noise. Lin Tian orders the rest of the goblin warriors to come out and tells them to kill the entire Bloodfang tribe. The goblin captains recount the orders and announce that the boss has ordered that they take out all of the Bloodfang tribe. Out of nowhere, hundreds of goblins who had also been using the Silent Steps skill show up and start to take out the goblins using their weapons, and the Bloodfang leader is shocked when they appear. The Bloodfang leader watches MC, who just stands in front of him with his usual smug smile as all the mayhem goes on, and decides that this was MC's plan all along. The Bloodfang leader decides that the southern leader had approached them in the guise of negotiation to get them to drop their guard. He made them put all their attention on him, which didn't allow them to notice the silent army that crept into their territory. The leader decides that the best option for him is to make a run for it, and he decides that he's too strong for anyone to be able to stop him if he runs. Taking a final look at MC, he loudly promises to kill him even if he's going to escape, so he launches at him with a killer punch with his remaining good arm. MC, who just stands there unperturbed, doesn't move out of the way of the incoming punch but only calls out Ifreya's name. Ifreya, who's standing nearby, recognizes her cue and summons the Holy Light Cage. The light cage envelops the Bloodfang leader, to his shock. He quickly understands that it's a light attribute spell, but he wonders how since a goblin can't cast light spells. He glares at the Lin Tian with eyes that are almost human, but are filled with boiling rage, hoping to get a chance to land an attack on him. Meanwhile, Ifreya kneels close to Lin Tian and calls him master, while he pets her head. At this point, her transformation is so quick that I believe she was secretly a submissive who had been waiting to break free from the shackles of her strong warrior life. Lin Tian commends her for being a good dog and tells her she's gotten stronger ever since she went dark. He tells her to go pet her reward, and Ifreya just excitedly thanks him, calling him master, over and over. The Bloodfang leader, who is now trapped with chains made out of light magic, calls Lin Tian a scum. MC, who just looks away from him, laughs and asks him to obediently become his heroic breeding goblin. I wonder what'll happen if he doesn't. It'll be funny if the Lin Tian takes him through the same horrific training and this big guy becomes a submissive himself. Back at home in the Quang tribe, everything seems to be peaceful, and folks are going on about their normal lives. In one of the dungeons, the Bloodfang leader is seen heavily chained to a rock, and he can't move an inch. The Lin Tian breathes a sigh of relief from all the stress it took to subdue the Bloodfang leader. He's happy that all the hard work is done and there's no longer any threat, as he cleans his blood-stained knife, which he had just used to convince the leader to sit still so he can tie him up. Nearby, Captain Loader, who is in prison, wonders how the tribe was able to capture a hero-class goblin. Lin Tian tells Goblin Yue that the task of artificial insemination can be handled by the other goblins, but he asks her to just keep an eye on them. Goblin Yue, who is standing nearby with the clan mother, who seems to be ogling the MC, enthusiastically agrees to do so. The Lin Tian also leaves Ifreya in Yue's care, who seems to have a crazy look in her eyes, and she obediently holds on to Yue. Lin Tian asks Ifreya to pay attention to Yue's words, and Yue promises to handle her well. Our guy tells the clan mother that he wants her to help him get dressed later because he wants to go see a friend. By getting dressed, he's referring to using her elf magic to conceal his identity as usual. Surprised, the clan mother just asks him if he had indeed said he wants to go see a friend, to ensure she heard him correctly. The Lin Tian doesn't explain much but just reiterates that he's indeed going to see a friend, with a slight smile on his face. To give more context, the Lin Tian just grins widely and tells her it's a very important friend. Later on, our guy reasons to himself that based on what the captain had said, he's sure that human reinforcement will reach Brighttown soon. He reasons that their present capacity can handle the knights, but an encounter with the Sword Saintess spells their doom. He also considers the fact that it'll take some time to complete the breeding of the hero-class goblins, so he needs a strong ally to help stall the Sword Saintess. Lin Tian finally decides that he needs to pay a visit to Dragon Island to meet the mother of the purple gold dragons. It's a great idea, but the only issue is that Dragon Island is at least 100 kilometers away from where they are, so it's pointless going there. He decides the best way to get to Dragon Island is to summon a dragon here, so he kills 2 large monsters and spills its blood right by the water. A few moments pass, and the Lin Tian hopes that the scent of the monster's blood is enough to attract any close dragon who's looking for a quick meal. True to his word, one of the dragons soon appears and spots the tasty meal by the water. Lin Tian quickly hides in a space he had created in one of the monster's stomachs, happy that everything is going on as planned. The dragon easily lifts the dead beasts off the ground, and Lin Tian is seen hanging on in the dead animal's stomach. When the dragon begins to fly, Lin Tian secretly celebrates that his plan is successful, so he decides to enjoy the first-class flight to Dragon Island. After a long flight with no turbulence or bad weather, they get to their destination. Upon reaching a suitable spot, the dragon drops the animals through a hole on top of a large rock. The dead beasts fall through the opening and land in a cave that has been made inside the rock, right on top of a heap of bones that used to be succulent beasts themselves. When Lin Tian makes his way out of the animal's stomach, he confirms his suspicions that the dragons weren't just hunting for themselves, but for someone else. When Lin Tian fully gets out of the animals inside, he dusts himself off and decides that it's time to track down the Dragon Mother, but his planning is stopped by a loud voice from behind him. The purple Dragon Mother, who is in her dragon form, mentions that it seems that there's something weird mixed in with the food. She looks at him with large reptile eyes that are bigger than his entire body size, and this startles MC, who didn't realize she's been there the whole time. After taking a closer look, the Dragon Mother recognizes him as the goblin who had attacked Brighttown, which allowed her to escape. She asks him what's he doing sneaking into her territory. She asks him if he doesn't think she'd eat him, and another menacing dragon comes to join her. Lin Tian quickly tells her to wait and informs her that he has come to discuss cooperation with her. The Dragon Mother thinks it's peculiar that a mere goblin would come to discuss cooperation with her. Nonetheless, she honors his request and transforms into a demi-human, as she had done during the battle in Brighttown. She tells him she's willing to help him because he had helped her in her last battle, and transforms into a large demi-human that towers over him. The Dragon Mother tells him she hopes he can satisfy her so she doesn't have to eat him. Lin Tian tells her he knows that she seeks revenge against the Sword Saintess, so he suggests that they join forces, and he tells her she can consider it a favor for also helping him escape during the raid in the last battle. His words shock the purple Dragon Mother, who wonders the kind of nerve such a lowly creature can have to target the Sword Saintess, and confesses that he has piqued her interest a little bit. She asks him how he plans to bring down the wretch known as the Sword Saintess. Our guy just tells her he needs one simple thing from her, which is to occasionally send her dragon soldiers to harass Brighttown. The Dragon Mother wonders what role mere goblins are going to play in the plan, seeing that the Sword Saintess is much stronger. She asks him what his plan is, but he doesn't say anything. When she moves closer and raises his chin upwards with one of her fangs, she informs him that with an enemy as strong as the Sword Saintess, confrontation will do little good. Lin Tian tells her that the plan is to attack her mind because breaking her spirit is the only way to weaken her. After he explains the plan, the Dragon Mother laughs deeply and agrees with him. She mentions that it's her perfect desire to use the goblins to do some killing without having to sacrifice members of her tribe. When Lin Tian asks if they can consider their deal sealed, she tells him that is sure. But she soon slowly wraps her large palm around his face to get a closer look at him, and seductively inches closer to him. MC, who just stands there, watches her claws around his head but doesn't move an inch. The purple mother dragon tells him she could have never figured out that a goblin could be so clever, and tells him she likes him the more she gets to look at him. Looking utterly seductive, she asks him if he'd like to get a little reward from her, if you know what I mean. Ems, who just remains in her arms, thinks about how feisty the female dragons can become during their breeding season. The purple dragon mother eventually decides that our guy's little body is not worthy of her attention, so she decides to give him another reward for now. For now, which means things can happen in the future. The dragon mother looks around and wonders which she should choose as his reward. It's funny how she's pimping out her dragons so easily. Meanwhile, things at Tianquang tribe, which is our guy's tribe, are going smoothly. Captain Loader is tied to a cross and put under the hot sun, while some goblins stand guard to ensure he doesn't do anything funny. Heavily pregnant elves also walk around like it's nobody's business. The captain thinks to himself that it's been so long and wonders why the knights haven't come to save him. The simple answer is that maybe he overestimated his worth. He thinks to himself that he's going to lose his mind if he remains there much longer, and decides that he needs to escape. The only issue is that there are goblins in every inch of that camp, so his chances of escaping are close to nil. The captain has a great idea and concludes that he can escape if he gets to higher ground since goblins are quite short. His thinking is soon interrupted by the presence of the dragon, who flies towards the tribe. The captain suddenly starts to scream that a wyvern, which is another name for these types of dragons, is around. He begs them to let him go because he's not ready to be burned by dragonfire. Poor guy probably wants to marry and have kids first. While the captain screams, the goblins just ignore him and alert themselves so they can be on guard. The second generation soon takes formation to fight against the dragon, wondering why it has come to their tribe. While they all look, they realize that someone happens to be on the dragon. The dragon soon lands as the entire tribe watches intently to see what will happen. The person on the dragon comes down, and it turns out to be the boss, who gladly announces that he's back. The red dragon that he came with just stands next to him, watching the people of the tribe. The goblins nearby happily announce to the others that it's the boss, and the entire tribe erupts in joy. Lin Tian pets the dragon and tells her to rest for a while and not to wander around, and the dragon seems to enjoy it. When the boss approaches the people, they all start to praise him, and they chant that the boss lives long. Even Yue joins in, excited to see him. The captain, who had almost pooped his pants a few minutes ago, looks at Lin Tian and wonders if he's truly a goblin. He makes a silent prayer and hopes the Night Order quickly comes to rescue him.